Hello, and thank you for joining us to the Regeno Therapy, How Drainage and Detox Works in the Body webinar. My name is Heather Schofield, and we are joined also with Lesia Galoida. And the two of us are really excited to be able to share knowledge and practical experience in drainage and detoxification. So before we formally get started with the presentation, we just wanted to do a slide here to talk about regenotherapy, drainage, and detox, and then just to give an outline of what we're going to be covering tonight. So the webinar, we're going to be talking about homotoxicology and then transforming it into a little bit more modern day, talking about it in terms of drainage and detoxification. The focus in this webinar will be the major detox pathways, which are the liver, the kidney, and the lymphatic system. We'll do some review of what those detox pathways look like. We'll also review the phase 1, phase 2 liver detoxification, and then focus in on liver, gallbladder, kidney, bladder, urinary tract, and lymphatic remedies. We'll also be doing an introduction and a review of the Detox Kit and how that can be very practical in practice for patients, especially since we're moving into the time where it's detox season. This is part one of a three-part webinar series. And so, as I mentioned, we're covering the major detox pathways tonight. Next Tuesday, we'll also be talking about the stomach and very stomach-centric and how to support the top portion of the digestive tract. And then the third part will include a variety of different regenotherapy remedies that don't fall into the first and the second webinar. And the last thing that I just want to mention is many of you are probably asking the question, what on earth is regenotherapy? Where did regenotherapy come from? And we thought you had a different set of remedies. And so what we are doing, and part of this webinar series, is helping us to relaunch a rebrand of the drainage and detox remedies that we have. These remedies that have been used for decades, and they are the original European and German formulas that we have permission to make in Canada. And so the homeopathic and the herbal combinations are all now manufactured in Canada with the tried, tested, and true original formulas. We thought that this would be a really good opportunity at this time to do some rebranding. And so we are now going to have our drainage and detox line under the Regenotherapy brand. Okay, so lastly, thank you for joining us. And my name is Heather Schofield. For those of you that don't know me, I've been with Biomed for coming up 22 years, and I work here as the education director and medical advisor. I use drainage and detox in my daily practice and have now for 2 decades. In addition to that, I've had the honor to have studied under some incredible practitioners that were teaching the homotoxicology and the drainage and detoxification principles and how it works in the body. And then in addition to that, why it's very beneficial to be adding this into our daily practice with our patients. And so I'm really excited to be here to share that. And so I'll pass it over to Lesia so she can introduce herself.
Greetings from Toronto. I'm Lesia Galoida, and I'm really happy to join Heather for today's webinar. For some people, I'm a familiar face. For some people, I'm a new face. But I just want to mention a couple of things. I have rejoined Biomed team as of August last year, but I'm not new to Biomed. I used to work for Biomed for more than 10 years. So as Heather, I am also a practitioner. I have a medical background and a homeopath. I'm homeopath for 25 years now. So I do have a clinical experience, and also we have collective experience that we are happy to share with everyone. So I guess it's enough for the introductions. I'm just happy to take part of this webinar. And lastly, I want to mention that I'm available for one-to-one in Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lesia. And Leslie and I, so how we're going to be working together with this webinar is I'm going to go through more the theoretical and the technical components of talking about drainage and detox. And Leslie is going to talk a little bit later on in a more practical, clinical, patient-based sense. And the two of us will be going back and forth and adding things as we see fit. Uh, okay, so let's get started here with the content. The question is, why is drainage and detox therapy so important? And this is a very important question. One thing that is incredibly interesting and a little bit sad and kind of scary is that there's over 28,000 toxins and different chemicals on the Canadian market today. Some of those chemicals and toxins are not actually classified as toxic, but there still are thousands that are, and there are also thousands that don't have a classification at all. In the US, it's an even bigger number. It's 80,000 toxins on the market. So why this is important is that when we're exposed to different toxins in the environment, in our household, in our cosmetics, in our shampoos, and our cleaning products, in the food that we're eating, and the water that we're drinking, we're being exposed, and it creates this ever increasing burden on the body. The body is designed, our bodies are designed to be able to detox toxins out of the body. We have our detox organs, they're constantly working. And when they are allowed to work well and efficiently, they do a great job at keeping the body in a very regulated space. However, when we're inundated with toxins on a daily basis, then we can start to overburden our detox organs. And then there will be signs and symptoms that they are getting congested and they need support from a drainage and detox perspective. So just a few more interesting facts here. The human toxic load, this was a study done at McGill University in 2024, showing that in the human, 97% of humans in blood, urine, and breast milk samples were showing that there was over 400 environmental pollutants and 3,600 chemical substances that were from cooking materials and food packaging. And these are different chemical substances. And a lot of them were the PFASs, the forever chemicals in the body. Also, another point that is quite scary, in newborn umbilical cord blood, there was the Environmental Working Group has done a lot of research around this. 287 industrial compounds and pollutants were detected, and this study was done about 20 years ago, so nowadays it would be even more. And then they just recently did a study, or published a study in 2026 showing that in the newborn umbilical cord blood, there was 42 different forever chemicals. So what this is really pointing to is the fact that our bodies are inundated with different types of toxins and chemicals, and some of these are being stored in the body because our detox organs are not able to efficiently get everything out. These toxins increase risk of developing disease. Exposure at this point is unavoidable, so our best defense is drainage and detox. And when we're introducing Regeno therapy, it is a drainage and detox line and your daily solution to help restore health and support our drainage and detox organs. Now, the next question is, what is homotoxicology? And we do need to give a nod to Dr. Reckewig. As homotoxicology, he's the forefather. And he talked about homotoxins as a substance that creates a direct or indirect toxic burden in the human organism. Homotoxicology then is a therapeutic approach that is targeting organs and tissues and the connective tissue and creating this deep cellular cleansing of the body tissues and the organs to help promote excretion of toxins from the body. Now, with homotoxicology, the root cause is toxic load or toxins. And When our bodies are working well, disease or acute symptoms, they're a result of the body trying to rebalance itself or heal itself, or eliminate toxic load or toxins. The level of disease in what people are experiencing is going to be an indication of what capacity they have to be able to eliminate toxins. So toxins are meant to be eliminated through the main detox pathways, and we're going to be talking about these detox pathways extensively tonight. So that's through the kidneys, the liver and gallbladder, and the bowels. Uh, when the body cannot excrete toxins through these main detox pathways, they start to switch over to secondary pathways. And so in an acute situation, you may see things like excess mucus or vomiting or diarrhea or fever to be dealing with different toxins. In more chronic or long-term situations, the body is not able to have these main detox pathways and the secondary detox pathways efficiently eliminate toxins. And so it starts to get stored in the different tissues of the body. And that is when the path to chronic conditions and disease really begins. So the type of treatment and the type of therapy really matters when we're talking about toxic load. If treatment is a suppressive or suppressing the toxins like antibiotics or steroids, other medication, then the toxins can go deeper into the tissues and then set up chronic degenerative disease potential. If the treatment eliminates toxins, then this creates the opportunity for real healing to take place. And this is the whole aim of homotoxicology and drainage and detox, is we're targeting organs and we're targeting organs to support the elimination of toxins from the body. Dr. Andreas Marx is a naturopath from Germany and also a naturopath in the US. And he is one of the mentors Alessia and I had the honor of training under for years. And he has a very practical approach to drainage and detox and homotoxicology. And I really like how he explains it. So he talks about the organism, which is the human body, and we're exposed to the endogenous and the exogenous toxins. They get into the bloodstream, and then this is where the detoxing organs are supposed to clear the blood of these toxins. So the liver, the kidneys, for example, and the lungs are kind of the main places where this happens. If these detox organs are not able to efficiently or remove all the toxins that are in the blood, then it gets moved as residual toxins that are stored in the connective tissue. Often then, those toxins will go to whatever every individual's constitutional weak spot is in the body. And once it settles in that area, so for some people, it could be the lungs, some people could be digestive, some people could be the joints, some people the sinuses. Once that toxic load is in that region, it affects the cell, it affects the DNA, and then it can be passed on through the offspring as these constitutional kind of weak spots. And then there's the inherited toxins and then newly acquired toxins. And so this process continues and continues. So one of the really important things about drainage and detoxification is being able to help break these patterns and or kind of hold them so that they don't end up in these chronic degenerative kind of conditions. To take this into a more modern understanding of homotoxicology or drainage and detox, this is the information that Dr. Reckeweg put together in the 6-phase homotoxicology chart. And so in stage 1, 2, and 3, these are the stages that the body, if the detox organs are working well, so again, back to the liver, the kidneys, the lymphatic, the lungs, the skin, the bowels, the different body detox organs are able to move toxins out. So the excretion phase, if toxins come in, let's say there's some food poisoning, then you have vomiting and you have diarrhea, maybe you have sweating and you clear things out. Maybe you inhale some pollen or some cat dander, and so you sneeze and you have a runny nose and you're excreting things out. And this is the sign of a very well-functioning body in the detox component. But once these detox organs and the ability to be efficient at clearing toxins out starts to get overburdened, then it moves into an inflammatory stage. And this is where toxins start to become harder to get out of the body. The body starts trying to produce either fevers or inflammation to deal with it and help to clear it out. If the toxic burden continues, then it moves to what's called the deposition phase. And so this is where now toxins are getting stored in the connective tissues or the tissues. Often there's not a lot of symptoms at this point, but this is where toxins are now getting deposited in the body. From this point, there's something called the biological divide. So if you're in phase 1, 2, or 3, working through detoxification and drainage is well, it's not necessarily a simple process, but it's a straightforward process in being able to reverse it back and getting the body back into really good regulation and allowing the detox organs to do the job that they're meant to do. Once you start to move into the impregnation phase, this is when the toxins are moving into the cells and symptoms of early stages of the chronic degenerative or chronic symptoms and chronic disease starts. And as that process continues and there's more toxic load and the organs of detoxification continue to get overburdened, you move into a degenerative phase. So now this is where damage is starting to occur with the tissues and with the cells and with the enzyme function. And it's when chronic degenerative conditions start to come in play. And then the sixth phase is what's called the de-differentiation phase. And this is where toxins can create more genetic damage, and it's where cancer essentially lands. So, of course, if you have clients and patients that are in stage 4, 5, or 6, it doesn't mean to not work with drainage and detoxification. It's still essential at being able to do some health evolution or reversing some of these things. It may not be the expectation to move from 6 all the way back to 1, but if you can move from 6 to 5 or 6 to 4, or even get past that biological divide and into 3, then you're giving people the opportunity really to get back into regulation and to heal and to work through a lot of the symptoms that they're experiencing. So that is kind of this whole talk about drainage and detoxification and homotoxicology from the theoretical component. If you do have questions, please pop them into the Q&A section and we'll happily answer them for you. So the last thing that I want to just talk about here is just the detox organs in general. So now going into modern kind of anatomy, physiology, and understanding this process of detoxification and elimination. So toxins, again, they enter in through breathing, so the lungs, they enter through the skin or absorption, and they enter in through the gut and the intestine through food and water that we're ingesting. All of this gets absorbed into the blood, and then the blood is processed through the liver. And the liver then does its phase 1, phase 2 detoxification and turns the toxins into water-soluble toxins, which then get excreted through the skin for sweat, or the kidneys as urine, colon as feces, and the lungs through breathing. If the liver is overburdened and cannot handle cleaning up that toxic load from the blood, then those excess toxins get stored in different tissues based on if they're fat-soluble toxins or water-soluble toxins. So the fat-soluble toxins tend to go to the fat tissue, the liver, the nervous system, whereas water-soluble toxins tend to go more to the joints, the blood, the tissues, and the muscles. So what we're going to now focus on then is the major detox pathways. And the focus for this webinar will be the liver, the kidneys, the intestines by default because of the liver and the gallbladder with the bile, and also with the lymphatics. The lymphatics are not primary among jury. However, when you're working on the liver and the kidneys and you're opening things up, then it has a place for the lymphatic toxic load to kind of be filtered through the blood and to drain out. So when you're working lymphatic with liver and kidney, that's a really nice combination together. If somebody's never done any detoxing, then you always want to get started with the liver or the liver and the kidneys. You don't want to start with the lymphatics first by themselves. You want to make sure the bigger kind of main pipes are opened up. Uh, so, okay, so we've talked about these. And just a emunctory, if that's a newer word for you, it means um, uh, detox organ. So the liver is a primary emunctory, so a main detoxing organ as the kidney. Secondary emunctory means that they're um, the secondary way of detoxing in the body. Okay, so now just to kind of put one last point in about kind of order or priority for detoxing. So I did mention that you want to be really looking at the liver and the kidneys. The intestines are important as well, specifically in constipation. So if somebody's constipated and they're not having a daily bowel movement or multiple bowel movements a day, but instead, let's say it's every second, third, or every fifth day, then if you're that's a source of holding a lot of toxic load in the body that can start to get reabsorbed, especially if it's more than 3 days. On day 4 and day 5, the toxic load is starting to get reabsorbed back into the system. And so having the bowels moving is really important. And Leslie's going to be talking about a protocol for constipation. So the bowels are a really important way of moving toxins out of the body through the feces. And so when we talk about the liver, the kidneys, and the bowels or the intestines, these are our main pipes out of the body. I like to think about it like a toilet and a toilet bowl. If your toilet bowl is clogged and you're trying to flush and nothing can get down, then you don't necessarily want to be adding more into that bowl because at some point it could start to overflow. What you really need to do is you need to get that bowl flushing, the toilet bowl flushing, or getting those main pipes moving, and so that that toxic load is going through. And then as those secondary organs are draining and detoxing, it can funnel into the main pipes and have a place actually to go. And then it can be moved from the body. And then that third, or what's called a tertiary drainage, it's of this extracellular and the intracellular matrix and the spaces. And so these are kind of the baskets. So once you get the liver, the kidney, and the bowels detoxing and clearing out, including of those organs, and then you get those secondary organs starting to clear things out, then you create space in the extracellular and the intracellular spaces to be able to start dumping toxins and moving toxins out, which then drain into the funnels, which drain into the main pipes, which evacuate out of the body. So, kind of just in a way to think about it, that's the way I like to think about drainage and detox, especially when I'm trying to think about order or priority. Where is the clog? What do I have to open up to get moving? And then what can naturally start to kind of funnel in? And if you follow this line of thinking, then it helps to really figure out in with your clients and your patients and in a case what you need to do or what you need to do next. Okay, so last thing I'm going to talk about here, and then we're going to start moving into the remedies, is drainage and detox. What are the key principles and how does it work? So when we're talking about drainage and detox remedies, in the terms of the regenotherapy remedies and these original German European um, drainage and detox formulas, they have a three-prong approach. Number one is that they jumpstart the drainage and detox process. So what that really means is they have some sort of biochemical effect. So the herb or the homeopathic or the ingredient or the combination of ingredients in that formula work to stimulate uh, an organ or an organ system to be able to start eliminating waste products and toxins through that detox organ. So that's the draining part. We're draining things out and we're getting things moving again. Uh, the important thing, and I know Leslie is going to emphasize this again, is that this is a very gentle process when we're talking about drainage and detoxification. It's this type of detoxification. It doesn't put extra stress on tired or exhausted organs. And so if you do have patients where they are fatigued or they can't handle more things in their system, or you put something in and then they react, these are the types of remedies that are not designed to do that because you are working on improving the function of that actual organ and strengthening it so it can actually handle things. And you can do it very slowly so that it's a very gentle process. The next component of the drainage and detox remedies is it increases circulation to that organ or that system of organs. And so what that helps to do is increase circulation to that organ where the toxins are settling, which then creates better blood flow to that organ to allow it to function better. And then that moves into the last component of what classifies as a drainage and detox remedy. It improves metabolic function or the function of the actual organ. So you increase the circulation to the organ. It helps to prompt the removal of cellular waste from the actual organ and then the connective tissue and surrounding cells. And then you improve the organ so that it can start to remove toxins from its own burden that's impairing the function. So by removing the toxins, you're improving the function of that organ, let's say the liver, for example. And then you are creating better pathways around for the connective tissues and cells to start clearing out as well. And then you've got better regulation and better energy production from the mitochondria, et cetera, et cetera. The two things that are really important to understand about drainage and detox as a therapy is that these remedies are designed to stimulate organ function within 20 minutes of taking the remedy. And you can see this in its action. When you're taking, these aren't remedies we're talking about in this webinar, but in the future webinars, you take absinthium, within 20 minutes, heartburn and indigestion is improved. You take Allernest, and within 20 minutes, the allergy symptoms have all calmed down. And so 20 minutes is kind of your tag, and you want to continuously be doing this multiple times a day. And then for best therapeutic results, drainage and detox is generally designed to be used for 2 to 3 months. And that time period is based on how fast the cells turn over and how fast they regenerate. Different organs and different areas of the body turn over and regenerate faster. Like the intestinal tract is very quick, whereas the kidneys and the liver are much slower. So a 2 to 3 benchmark is how long you would want to be probably using a remedy if it's not an acute situation. Okay, so now we're going to shift over into talking about the 3 categories of the main detox remedies. So the first category is the liver and gallbladder formulas. And so for those of you that are familiar with our drainage and detox remedies, these remedies are going to look very familiar to you. Some of the best, A. hepatica, Cardis, and Cardinera. I'll have to say Cardis is and has for 22 years been my favorite formula. It still continues out of this line. So I love how well it works kind of in the body for bile. So they're very classic formulas that support the liver, the gallbladder, and bile function. And because we were talking about the liver and it's a main toxic filtration system in the body, it's really essential to support this organ. Did you know that all the blood in your entire body is filtered through the liver several times per hour and hundreds of times per day? It's a liter a minute essentially is what is getting filtered through the liver. So it's incredible how much the liver works. It's working all the time, like 24/7. It doesn't take a break. And so we need to show it love and we need to show it a lot of support so that it can really then do the job it's meant to do. Because our bodies are like incredible. And if we allow them to do what they need to do, then they do a really good job at it. I've got this slide here more just for your reference. It's talking about the liver and the anatomy of the liver and then all the different functions of what the liver does. So it's in your slide deck. You can always refer back to it if you need a little bit of a review. I do want to take just another moment to talk about phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification. So when we have toxins, and these are the fat-soluble toxins, that are being filtered out of the blood through the liver. then that is the phase one. And then there's a whole bunch of enzymes and cofactors that are binding on, and there's different reactions that are happening that turn it into an intermediary metabolite. So it's more water soluble, but not completely water soluble. It's also classified as a reactive oxygen intermediate. So it's actually essential that phase one and phase two liver detoxification is supported well. You don't want things to get stuck into this stage. Antioxidants are one of the really important things, or bioflavonoids to help to move it into phase two. In the phase two reactions, what that's doing is then turning it into a water soluble toxin that is now ready for excretion out of the body. And so it can move through the bile, so through the gallbladder, and then secreted into the intestines, but then is evacuated or excreted through the bowels and through the feces. Alternatively, it can be turned into a serum that then is filtered and excreted through the kidneys and then eventually excreted out of the body as urine. And so, with the phase one, phase two liver detoxification and the liver working well, it's really important because this is how the toxins are essentially moving through the body. Now, you may be asking the question, how do I even know somebody needs a liver detoxification? It's not like we have, special X-ray vision and we can just look inside the body and say, oh, this liver looks like it's not functioning well. And so we use, of course, all kinds of different types of symptoms and reactions that people are having, or clients and patients are having, to give signs and hints and symptoms that the liver needs some support. Some things, again, this is a very comprehensive list, so you can, of course, look through it and refer back to it. But if somebody has a lot of burping and belching or abdominal bloating, those could be signs or symptoms that the liver needs a good detox. If there's a lot of excess fat, abdominal fat, that's another indicator. Having a hard time digesting fatty foods, or gallbladder issues, or the gallbladder's been removed, heartburn, bad breath, overheating, like a lot of heat in the body, a lot of sweating, sweaty feet, and then skin stuff, liver spots, blotchy skin, acne, rosacea, those can all be pointing to the liver. Food cravings, water retention, lightweight when drinking alcohol, waking between 3 and 4 a.m. Those are all potentially pointing to liver detoxification. A thing to note, towards the end of the presentation, Leslie is going to share a questionnaire that has been built for patients. And so they can go through the questionnaire and indicate what types of symptoms they have. So it's an easy way for patients to be able to determine what's going on and maybe if they're a good candidate for detoxification. Okay, so I'm going to switch things over to Lesia now so she can talk about the remedies.
Yes, Heather, thank you. Thank you for sharing the list of the symptoms that indicates the need for the liver and the gallbladder detox. And actually, I believe that you will agree with me that allopathic or traditional medicine approach and holistic approach, it's quite different, and in a way that we use the symptoms. In allopathic medicine, symptoms is to be suppressed. You have the heartburn, you take the medication to suppress. You have a pain, you have a painkiller. You have any symptoms, it's definitely doctors are not looking for the root cause. They're looking how to make a symptomatic relief. In holistic medicine, we are equipped much better, and we are looking actually to help body to regulate itself, to regenerate, to heal. So Regeno therapy and remedy for liver, like a hepatic, a carditis, and cardonara, are great tools. And my goal today is just to tell you or show you how to translate the knowledge that you are getting today into the clinical use. For example, remedy a hepatica. It's the main liver remedy, and its indications, it's a liver and a gallbladder detox chronic liver conditions, things like acute inflammation, cholecystitis, it's an inflammation of the gallbladder, and cholangitis, it's an inflammation of bile ducts, and also it's indications for any stress due to chemical toxicity, exposure to different chemicals. So we definitely will have patients who come to us, maybe not with the acute gallbladder colic or cholecystitis. It's things that are emergency. They will go to the medical doctor or to the ER. But I guarantee that every one of you will have a patient with the fatty liver, non-alcoholic liver fatty disease. It's another word, it's also metabolic dysfunction associated liver disease. So it's not about the alcohol, it's about different toxins that make liver become transforming into the fat. So fatty liver is the first stage of the damage. After that, fat will be causing the inflammation, and the inflammation will lead to scarring, and scarring will lead to fibrosis, and fibrosis will lead to cirrhosis, which it's the last stage of the liver damage when the hepatocytes, the active cells, are replaced with the scar tissue. And this is the time when, kind of irreversible changes. Obviously, at this stage, we cannot help patients, but Heather demonstrated really nicely how the progression of the disease and how we can reverse those damages. And liver is actually a noble organ. And this is the only organ that can regenerate itself. And we are, as a practitioners, have a great tools to help to do that. So in hepatica, we have the remedy that are the ingredients that are hepatoprotective, meaning helping hepatocytes to regenerate. We have a remedy that are stimulate bile flow and bile production, and with that we are able to eliminate toxins. And actually, the fatty liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, it's the condition that it's quite prominent. As Heather was saying, that toxins are quite a bit, we have a quite a bit exposure to toxins. So in United States, 30 to 40% of population have fatty liver. And statistics are actually scary because one of 5 people will progress from fatty liver into cirrhosis. Obviously, it does not overnight, but as year with number of years, but they will progress to the irreversible changes into cirrhosis. So when you have the patients in the when they firstly diagnosed, medical doctors don't do anything. They just say, we will monitor, you can do the lifestyle changes, but lifestyle changes may be effective, but we can make them even more effective with the drainage. So ahepatica will be a great remedy to support conditions like fatty liver, metabolic syndrome, high cholesterol, sluggish liver and gallbladder. So excessive weight or things like PCOS or even hormonal conditions like hypothyroid, because everything is interconnected. So keep in mind that ahepatica is the main function is liver with the gallbladder support. But we have a great remedy, Cardos. It's one of my favorite remedy as well, because gallbladder is a kind of organ that it's not very important from traditional medicine. They say, oh, it's an extra organ, we can remove anytime, which is not true. Gallbladder has the function of storing the bile and concentrating the bile. Heather, is a did you know fact. Did you know that we produce from 250 to 1 liter of bile in 24 hours? So obviously we cannot store a liter, but the function of the gallbladder is to concentrate bile and use as we need to digest fat. So why bile is so important? Bile is the substance that will help to emulsify fat. So it helps in the digestion of fat and fat soluble nutrients, like for example, omegas, vitamin A, E, and D. And if we use the symptoms to to help the person, the constipation is the symptoms that reflects on the gallbladder dyskinesia or sluggish gallbladder. So I always want to translate the symptoms of the patients into the physiology. This is what you do in your head. And also, my goal today is to say what remedy to use. If you have a constipation, in allopathic medicine, they will prescribe laxative. But in healthy body, bile is the substance that will stimulate the peristalsis and helps with the normal bowel movement. So when we see a patient that complains about the constipation and they say, I eat enough fiber, I drink enough water, but I still cannot go regularly, then it's a sign that gallbladder and liver need the support. And by using Cardus that has the choleretic and cholagogue properties, meaning stimulating bile flow and bile production, we're actually not suppressing the symptoms, but we are addressing the root cause. Another issue with the reason for supporting gallbladder is symptoms like hemorrhoids or varicose veins. Portal vein stasis and congestion is the indications for the cardus, as we know that venous blood comes to the liver to be detoxified, and when the liver is congested, it's pressing on the vena porta. It's a big vein and does not allow the blood to come freely to the liver. So it leads to the hemorrhoids because it's a stasis. The blood stays and congest, and we can have varicosis in the lower extremities and also hemorrhoids. So yes, we can we can cut out hemorrhoids, we can use different creams, provide symptomatic relief, but truly to address the problem, we need to support liver and gallbladder. So Cardus, it's not only to stimulate bile, but as you can see, we can translate into the real complaints of the patients and really help them to heal themselves. So in term Cardus, we have to be cautious because it stimulates bile. We have to be cautious with the gallstones, but actually gallstones is also resulting from the state when the bile is not used properly. So people who feels that low-fat diet is the healthy diet usually end up with the gallstones because there is no use of the bile. As we stimulate bile production and bile flow, actually we can dissolve gallstones in the gallbladder. So next remedy is a carbonara. And once again, its indications, it's high cholesterol and lowering triglycerides. So it's a natural alternative to statins, to lipid blocker. From allopathy perspective, we have high cholesterol. We use something that will stop stop cholesterol production. Actually, carbonara main ingredient is artichoke extract, and artichoke is this was the substance discovered and artificially sourced now for the statins. They have exactly the same. They have the same action. However, natural extract of artichoke has also choleretic and cholagogue properties, meaning it increases the bile production and bile flow. So carbonara will help lower cholesterol, but not by blocking or suppressing the production, but actually by properly recycling cholesterol. And this will obviously help with there will be no side effects and there will be a better tolerance. So, as you can see, we have quite a bit of the arsenal to support our liver function. And the next slide, Heather. So, I would say please try constipation protocol with the ahepatica and cardos when you have patients with the irregular bowel movement. And because, as we know, constipation is the sign of improper elimination of toxins through the intestinal tract. It will affect our microbiome and will affect our assimilation of nutrients. So you see, indirectly supporting gallbladder, we are actually improving the gut health. Um, Here you have also a list of the non-medicinal techniques to support bowel movement, like please welcome to use those. But this is winning combinations for the constipation. Thank you, Heather.
Great. Thank you very much, Lesia. And if you also have some protocols that you're using and you want to enhance them, or you're finding sometimes they're not working as expected, I do hear the comments from practitioners. We've tried magnesium, or we've tried magnesium and fiber, and it's still not doing the trick. Then absolutely consider adding Cardis into what you're already doing, or Cardis and Ahepatica together. And that may be the thing that really turns everything around, and gets the bowels moving for those patients. Okay, so we are going to continue on with the kidneys. And so with the kidney formulas, they're kidney, bladder, and urinary tract support formulas. So Solidago and Buco. Both are very classical for kidney support, and Solidago with bladder support. So kidneys are slow to regenerate. We're always told that kidneys cannot regenerate. According to Dr. Andreas Marks, if you give them enough time, kidneys can regenerate or do some regeneration. And so always consider with kidney support for at least 3 months. I've got a slide here that's just talking about the urinary system and how urine essentially is created. And so I'll just leave this slide here for your reference if you need to look back to what is going on for urine, the kidneys and the urine system. What I do want to emphasize is about indications for kidney detoxification. And so these indications are very different than what you would see with the liver or the gallbladder. There's not really gut stuff, but instead you're seeing fluid retention and edema. You're seeing swollen feet or swollen ankles or a swollen face. You can find on the skin that, there's a kind of swelling kind of skin, itchy rashes. The urine, of course, there could be changes in appearance or frequency. So difficulty urine, blood in the urine, less or more frequent, lighter or darker colors, foamy or bubbly urine, urgency, waking more frequently in the night. Those are all pointing towards the kidneys. Nausea and vomiting, feeling tired or sluggish during the day, having pain in the lower legs or the lower back, having a bad taste in the mouth, and even anemia can all be things that are pointing towards the kidneys, and potentially towards the kidneys needing some additional support, both in that drainage and detoxification component. So I'm going to pass it back over to Lesia, and then she's going to talk about the kidney, bladder, and urinary tract remedies, and then a protocol as well.
Yes, we do have two remedies for kidney and bladder. It's a Solidago and Baco. And as Heather was mentioning about the drainage therapy, one also feature features or the indications that it's a drainage remedy, it's the affinity to the organ. So when we see the solidago, so we definitely kind of assume that the remedy will go toward the kidneys. This is the signature, actually, theory when botanical remedies have affinity to the specific organs. So solidago is the remedy for kidney and bladder, and also urinary support. It is a drainage because it stimulates the diuresis. It stimulates the urine excretion. It helps with the inflammation and also prevent some of the crystalline materials like stone formations. So solidago can be used with many conditions. So, for example, prostate need the kidney support. Urinary tract infections need the kidney support. So we can use in chronic conditions. We can use in acute conditions like cystitis, pielitis, nephritis, or urinary retention. Obviously, some of the conditions are, will be kind of area where the medical profession will need to be involved. But if we wanna, if it's not acute and we want to maintain healthy function and regain the healthy function of the kidney, solidago is the remedy that can be used acutely or chronically. Buco is another remedy with affinity to the kidney, but it has a little bit different focus. It helps circulation and it actually helps to regenerate renal parenchyma, the tissue of the kidney. It also very important to be used in with the metabolic conditions, like for example gout, when the kidney function can be impaired, and Baco stimulates the diuresis, meaning the urine production and eliminations. It helps protect the epithelium and has anti-inflammatory and antispasmodic properties. So as you can see, those remedies are for kidneys and the urinary tract urinary tract, but we can find the use for this remedy in many other chronic conditions because as we support kidney function and kidney and eliminations, we are supporting general health. The next slide, please. So when you have a UTI, definitely we have so many nutraceutical products that we can use, but those nutraceutical worked on mainly on the bladder, but to prevent infections going upwards, going to the kidney, we can use solidago, and obviously for the acute conditions, it's a work very fast and you can use more frequently. When it's chronic conditions, we will use less dose, less frequently, but for the longer period of time. And obviously, we have to use lifestyle and some other. It's not we are not limiting to the drainage. We can use nutraceutical. We can use more drainage. We can use some other preparations available at Biomed to address bladder and urinary tract infections. And we actually will be talking more about the different protocols in the following webinars.
Great. Thank you, Lesia. I just wanted to make a note. I do see that there's many questions in the Q&A. I apologize, we're not answering them through the presentation. I know if I click on them, I'm going to stop screen sharing. And so just hold tight. We're getting close to the end of the presentation, and then we'll get to your questions as well. Okay, so the last detox component that we want to talk about is the lymphatic system and the lymph formulas. So we have two lymph formulas here, Lymphodrop and LAPA. And again, both of them are classical formulas to detox the lymph, the blood, the extracellular matrix, and the connective tissue. And as a fun fact, every human has between 500 and 700 lymph nodes. So, because there's so many lymph nodes in the body, when you get toxic accumulation happening, you can create a very stagnant lymphatic system. And in order to keep things moving, having good lymphatic flow and lymphatic drainage is really essential, both for the lymphatic system, which also kind of comes into like the toxic load that is in the connective tissue and the extracellular matrix. But then, in addition to that, the lymphatic system is also very interconnected with the immune system. So it's really important with lymphatic drainage, either to be supporting during kind of immune stuff or to be helping to prevent from going down the getting sick road. Okay, so then again, we've got a slide here that's talking about the lymphatic system, and it's a large network of vessels and tissue. Here's some reference here for all the different things that the lymphatic function is associated with. And just the one reminder with the lymphatic system, it's very connected with the venous system. And so you'll get all of the lymph vessels and the lymph tissue and the lymph nodes that at the bottom of the body, so the legs and the feet, and throughout the whole body, but specifically where gravity is, where the capillaries can get leaky. And then you get the tissue that's, or sorry, the fluid that's getting into the tissue. And it's the lymphatic system and the lymph's job to be able to absorb this tissue liquid back and return it back up through the blood. But the lymph system requires, it's a passive system that's got valves in it. So it requires muscle contraction and movement in order to get the lymph flowing back up, kind of back up against gravity to kind of get back into the circulatory system. And so the lymph is essential, but movement and supporting the lymph and lymphatic drainage is really important if there's a lot of fluid kind of accumulation or edema or just a lot of congestion. Okay, so indications for that point towards a lymph detoxification. So the obvious things are edema, fluid retention, cellulitis, inflammation and pain that's associated with that type of thing. Also, swollen glands and congestion can be a big part of it. Sometimes you can feel the the lymph nodes popping out in the neck or kind of in the armpits. Also can be associated with sinus infections, ears and throat infections. Actually, congested lymph can be one of the root causes in a chronic sinusitis situation. Allergies, hives, congestion, itching is also very indicative of a congested lymphatic system. The immune system I mentioned, and those clients and patients that are chemical sensitive all point towards the lymph and potentially needing a lymphatic drainage and detoxification. Okay, so I'm going to pass this back to Lesia.
So once again, Heather, thank you for demonstrating that so many symptoms that can be suppressed, we actually can translate into the need for the body support. And we can do this now with the lymphatic drainage remedy. We do have a tool available for us, Lymphodrop and Lapa. A little bit difference between the Lymphodrop and Lapa is Lapa actually helps a little bit with it's more like a blood purifier. And when we have metabolic waste issues, then it's better to have to use Lapa. In every other situation, Lymphodrop is indicated. So when we have lymphatic congestion, when we have the when we need the immune support, when we have any itis, especially ear, nose, and throat infections, lymphatic drainage is super important. It's a great way to help kids, like in pediatrics, because not every congestion or sore throat need antibiotics. First, what we need to do, we have to improve lymphatic flow, and it's alone supporting lymph system alone will help to prevent antibiotic use. And we cannot kill every bacteria and every infections, but it's better to support body natural ability to heal itself, to self-regulate, to regenerate. So LAPA can be also, as Heather has mentioned, a lymphatic system is a secondary, it's secondary emunctories. They use liver and kidney. So all the lymph nodes are the kind of a checkpoints. It checks for the bacterial toxin, it checks for the metabolic toxins, and then it's dumped into the blood. And with the blood, it goes into the liver and to kidney to detoxify. So that's why when lymphatic remedy can be used alone, but it's actually also a perfect combinations to be used along with the liver remedy and the kidney remedy. We will be happy as we go in the next webinars. We'll be talking about different conditions. We'll be happy to discuss cases. We'll be happy to discuss specific conditions, how to use this remedy, and how to translate the symptoms that we gather from our patients into the prescription protocols. So here we have the protocol for edema and lymphatic congestion. So you can use lymphatic drop, lymph drop. As we need a lot of fluid, it's great to use either 10 drops to 4 times a day, or you can use like entire amount in a container of water and sip through the day. Obviously, lymphatic drainage, as Heather was saying, it's a very lazy function. It needs some of the stimulations. So lymphatic drainage, dry brushing, rebounding, exercise, movement, walking, it's all those things that will stimulate lymph because of the muscle contraction. And those can be used as a non-medicinal, but if we combine both, you will have a more effective lymphatic drainage. And now we come to the easy way to put this knowledge and use in a clinical practice as a detox kit. A detox kit has the three remedy: liver, A hepatica, solidago, kidney, and lymph and drop. So this is, you don't have to be a homeopath, you don't have to be herbalist to effectively use this product. This is the remedy and questionnaire is included. This questionnaire, is your body ready for detox? We have in the brochure, and we can also share with you as a PDF. So it's a great tool to share it with your patients and ask them to check what's indicate, like what symptoms they have. Will actually help you to demonstrate to your patients the need for the detox and also help with the compliance. Because it's very hard to give them a lecture and explain why do they need detox, because it's so great and the homotoxicology theory and so on. But if they check more than three boxes in the questionnaire, then it's will be obvious for them they do need support for emunctories, for the kidney, for liver, and lymph. So Detox Kit contains three remedies, and it's a 20-day detox protocol. So we calculated that 17 drops of each remedy in a glass of water to be taking for 3 weeks. It's a great start. Some people might need to do another round or intercurrently, but 17 drops is, when we combine three remedies in one, it's a gentle enough dose to be effective, but also not to be overstimulating. When you use a remedy on its own, for example, a hepatica or solidago, the dosage will be, individual dose will be different, like maybe from 30 to 35 drops or 20 drops more often. So don't be discouraged to see lower dose. It's actually to ensure that you don't have a healing crisis. There is no any negative reactions and so on. So gentle but thorough support of the three primary detoxification systems. And yeah, so it's easy to use. It's available as a kit. And if you need to use remedy on single remedies, it's also available as individual remedies.
Great. Thank you, Lesia.
You're
So we just
welcome.
have one last slide here, and then there's some hands raised, and the questions we'll get to them next. So just in summary from everything that we've shared, and thank you for sticking with us to listen to the launch of the rebranding for Regenotherapy. And so the final question I have is why use Regenotherapy in daily practice? So drainage and detox, as you heard through this presentation, it really is essential for the type of toxic load we're dealing with, and in order to keep the body functioning, at the best that it's able to. So it can be essential for every single patient in every single practice. Whether the patient is in very good health or the patient has a complex type of health situation. Some easy places to think about it: seasonal detox. The spring detoxing is coming up very soon. It's just around the corner. And so this is a great time of the year, especially if you want to just make it really straightforward and simple to use the detox kit. Acute and chronic conditions, because we did do a lot of focus on the digestive system, digestive disturbances that are associated with the liver or dysbiosis or candida protocols, you can add drainage and detox, especially the liver remedies, into those protocols. Weight loss protocols, because there's a lot of metabolic waste that's happening in toxic release as the fat cells are clearing out of the body. So it's a really good time to be able to do some support in toxic clearing it out as it's being released. Of course, the bladder and the urinary tract and the kidneys. And then, as we mentioned, the symptomatic relief within 20 minutes. So sinusitis, allergies, and heartburn are all things that we're going to be sharing in the next two webinars. And then just kind of this last thing to talk about, like the advantages of regenotherapy as drainage and detox formulas. At the very beginning, we talked about homotoxicology and the principles: increase circulation, have a biochemical effect, and then stimulate that organ to be able to eliminate toxic load. Um, all of the formulas are either complex or combination herbal formulas or low potency homeopathics. And the low potencies are very low potencies, so they almost act like an herb, especially if the herb is a little bit more aggressive, kind of to do things. To put it in a low potency homeopathic, it does allow it to have a bit of a gentler approach in the body. They're all designed in a really cool way so that the ingredients in the formula target the organ and sometimes the organ system as well. So when you've got a hepatica, it's targeting the liver, but it's also targeting bile flow, it's targeting inflammation, it's even targeting kind of parasite load. So they're designed and originally, so these remedies are 60 years old, and the original pharmacists and naturopaths were using them and finding what the combination was to best support the body to get the results that they needed. 22 years in Canada, these remedies have been used. I know that many of you on this webinar have been using these formulas for a long time, and I'm sure could share some excellent tips with us. They're easy to use. It's very straightforward to be able to choose which remedies you need. So there's no intense training that's required to understand how to use the remedies. You can use them in all situations, prevention, acute, symptomatic, or chronic type cases. And we're looking at toxic load as one of the root causes. So we're not just addressing symptoms, but we're really clearing out things that are affecting root cause for what's going on in people. And then the last thing really to mention is that it's in most cases, most of the remedies are safe for all ages. Of course, they're non-toxic. They're instead getting rid of toxins. They're non-allergenic, and there's none to very minimal side effects. Drainage sometimes in detox can have some, side effects with it, but because these remedies are helping to improve organ function, typically you don't tend to see a lot with it. And then the bonus is you can take more than one remedy at a time. You can combine them in the same thing. The Detox Kit is a really good example of combining more than one thing that works in a protocol. Okay, and so with that, we're done, or at least done the formal portion of the presentation. So what I'm going to do now is I want to um, just get in here and get to these questions. So Christine asked the question, are there any special considerations for people with no gallbladder? This is a very good question. And so, regardless of gallbladder or no gallbladder, there is miles of bile ducts that are in the liver. And so, bile is still being produced. But what happens is if you don't have a gallbladder, of course, then the bile is kind of just as a slow drip. It's not necessarily coming from the organ and being stimulated to be put into the intestinal tract when there's fat. However, when you're using Cardace A hepatica, because it does stimulate bile flow, you can use it strategically before a meal that contains fat, like 20 minutes before, to kind of get the bile moving so that
Mhm.
when the food comes through and down the digestive tract, then you will almost be using it a bit like a substitution kind of therapy to, not substitution, like as a promoting therapy to be working with the body. So aside from being able to work with the body and helping to support still the fat absorption and fat digestion, there's no additional special considerations for people. So there's no negative considerations if somebody doesn't have a gallbladder. Unless you jump into any of this
Yeah, so
as you
when
see.
people don't have a gallbladder, they might have the difficulty to digest the fatty food. So some people will use bile salts as a supplement, and that's a replacement therapy, obviously. But people who will, for example, vegetarians, they don't want to use any animal product, then bile salts usually of animal origin. So we have this is will be an alternative, and also as you say very correctly, Heather, this is a stimuli of the bile by the liver. Gallbladder, it's only storage and the place where the liver gets concentrated, but bile is produced by the liver. So by stimulating bile flow and bile release before the every meal, that it will be as effective as having bladder, having gallbladder. Yeah, so it's a very holistic way to support digestion, especially fatty digestion. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Lesia. So I have a question with the detox kit. It contains a hepatica, lymphodrop, and solidago. So the question is, would you add Cardace or Cardinera to it, or start with the detox kit first? To make things very simple and straightforward, you can just use the detox kit, the A hepatica, the lymphodrop, and the solidago. And because the A hepatica does have some crossover with Cardace and Cardinera, and it's working on the liver and it's working on the bile, and so it's kind of covering off a lot of those things. If there was a specific thing with that patient or client where maybe their cholesterol is high, you could add Cardinera. However, the advice that Leslie and I received from Dr. Marks is that detoxing isn't kind of a one-time thing and you do it for 3 weeks or 21 days and then you're done. It often can be a process that you're continuing to go through. So you could use the detox kit for 21 days and then reassess and see, is there still some things that need to be addressed? In patients with a lot of symptoms, sometimes they need to, do it again, or maybe then you start to tweak, depending what's going on with that patient. Okay, so Carolyn's just asking about access to the recording. Yes, we'll have the recording via email as a link in the next couple of days, and it will be on the website as well. Okay, so Barbara asked the question, I know the detox kit instructions say that you can take the remedies 3 times a day or sip in water throughout the day. Is one better than the other? Also, would it be better to start the ahepatica before the lymph drop? Okay, great. Those are really good questions and great to be able to clarify it for those listening. So, um, in my personal opinion, I think it's better to do it 3 times a day. You take the 17 drops of a hepatica, lymphodrop, and solidago, put it into a big glass of water, and then you drink that back. Partially, the reason is that when you are taking that, if you remember, we talked about the drainage and detox principles of having a biochemical effect and stimulating the organ or the system of organs. And so at that 17 drops of each of those remedies, you're having that impact on it. I think that if you're sipping the water in a big bottle, like 3 times, so let's say up to 60 drops of each in a big bottle of water and sipping it, if you're sipping it throughout the day, you're not going to have the same effect. However, if you make up the big bottle of water, because let's say life is really busy, and then you drink 1/3, and then a later point of the day you drink 1/3, and then the last part of the day you drink 1/3, then you're going to have the same effect as if you were making it up 3 separate times. So my advice would either be do it 3 times a day in a big glass of water, or make up the big bottle and don't sip it throughout the day, but take it as 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. And then lastly, the question about the ahepatica before the lymphodrop, because we were talking kind of about that whole pipe and funnel system, when you're working on the liver, you can actually work on the lymphatic system at the same time. And because we've had these remedies with 21 years, 22 years of experience, it definitely is proving that you can use ahepatica and lymphodrop together at the same time. If you have a client though that everything's pointing very much to the liver and you want to do some initial work really on that, then you could always use ahepatica or Cardis or Cardinera, whichever is looking like the right remedy. You can do a round of that first and then move into the detox kit with the combination of remedies. And then Barbara asked the question about colon cleanse product be a good one to try for constipation. So the answer is absolutely. We did talk about making sure the bowels are moving. And so the colon cleanse and maybe adding the Cardis or a hepatic with the colon cleanse. So you have the bile component in addition to the colon cleanse, which is the major fiber component. And that too can be really great at promoting keeping the bowels moving. If the bowels are moving well and you want to do some support as a detox clean out, then colon cleanse is a great way to do that.
Yeah. And can I add here?
Yeah.
So with the constipation, obviously, some people might not be able to take extra fiber for colon cleanse or take extra water because, if they are on have issue with the kidney function, so they cannot drink a lot of water. If they are take more fiber, they are get more constipated. So supporting, promoting the bile flow will help things moving. And then yes, constipation will definitely lead to the dysbiosis because bowel stays stool stays in a bowel for a longer time, so it's affecting the microflora. So the colon cleanse eventually will be super beneficial with the extra probiotics, but we need to start things moving. And the colon cleanse itself not always is a solution. You need to incorporate support bile flow and improve peristalsis like naturally.
Great. Thank you, Lesia. Um, So Tanya asked the question, can solidago be used for gout? The answer is yes. Not just by itself. It is by itself, solidago is not quite enough for gout because it doesn't quite address the uric acid crystal component. However, solidago is in a gout protocol. There is another remedy called polygonum, which we'll be talking about in the third webinar. And so the combination of polygonum plus solidago is a really good combination. We often recommend some acid-base balance because that's also a bit of a root of where the crystals are being formed. So alcala or basic tab, solidago, and polygonum is the ideal formula combination. And we will definitely make sure we have a protocol on that in the third webinar. Okay, so I have Larissa asked the question about taken away from taste. Do they have to be taken away from taste? If you sip it all day, I would assume no. So if I understand the question correctly, do you have to take the remedies away from food or drink? You don't have to. Because they're low potency or they're they're herbal, there's not a lot of interference with food. So you can definitely take it with food or without food. Some of the remedies, like A. hepatica and cardis and cardinera, they're best to take like 20 minutes before a meal to kind of stimulate things. But if you forget, you can just take it with the meal, no problem. So yeah, there's not a lot of rules about when and when not, and they don't follow the traditional homeopathic rules. Um, okay. So, Amy asked the question, some of the instructions say to take with warm water. Does it matter if it's warm or room temperature? Um, it doesn't matter. So with the herbal remedies, especially the bitters, so A. hepatica, cardis, and then absinthium, which we'll be talking about um, next week. Often is talked about to be taken with warm water just because it moves through the stomach faster. There's not another reason other than that, but room temperature is good as well. I think one of the things, it's better not cold, if possible, room temperature or warm, either works. And it's, again, not a hard or fast rule on that one either. Um, great. Okay. So the question is it a TID, so 3 times a day dosing for the detox kit, or all three remedies? Um, so that's a good question. With the detox kit, it's specifically designed to do it 3 times a day at 17 drops. If you take it at that dose 3 times a day, then it's going to last for the 21 days. And it helps to line up the A. hepatica, the solidago, and the lymph drops so that the bottles all finish at the exact same time. Um, Individually, if you're using them individually, you can still dose them at that, but individually they have different dosing. And so it kind of is a flexible thing. And it also depends on what the situation is. If it's acute, you go more frequently. If it's going to be a long-standing thing you're going to be doing for some time, then you could be doing it 2 or 3 times a day. And again, it also depends on what the actual remedy is. But specifically with the detox kit, it's designed for 3 times a day. Let's say somebody can't do it 3 times a day, they can only do it twice a day. That's okay as well. It just means that they'll be doing it for a little bit longer. Okay, so same question again. Sorry, from the same person. For the detox kit, all three remedies, 3 full doses in 1 large bottle of water. Yes, you can do that as well. So you would be doing 17 times 3, so almost 60 drops, I guess 50 something drops each into a large bottle of water. And that would be your daily dose. And then you drink 1/3 and then 1/3 and then 1/3 at 3 different times in the day. It's nice to get all these clarifications. So, Zar, hello there. Yes, you absolutely can get access to the recording to be able to listen to the whole webinar. Okay, and um, okay, so we have a few more questions here. So, oh yeah, three. So this back to the detox kit. I think I answered this. Yeah. So it's hard to do it 3 times a day. Can they make the batch and drink the water throughout the day? They can try to do in bigger sips whenever is convenient for them. Okay. And then there's another question here, another really good practical question. Do you have to take the drops in water? Can you take the drops directly by mouth? So technically, you could take the drops directly by mouth. However, there's two reasons why you may not want to do that. And number one is because they're in an alcohol base and they can be strong tasting. And so for many people, the taste of it directly in the mouth is not the most pleasant. And then number two is a lot of the time people are very dehydrated. And so especially when you're doing work with the lymphatic system and the kidney system, um, having more water is also going to be supporting kind of that drainage component of clearing and flushing things out. Because when we're talking with the liver, even though the liver is like filtering the blood um, every moment of the day, you still need blood volume to be coming through, and you don't want the body to be like dehydrated because it's going to make everything less efficient. And you kind of want to be flushing toxins out with drinking more water. So it's another opportunity to get people drinking more water. In case they're not able to in certain kidney type situations. Um, However, I've also very much of the belief that sometimes you got to go with whatever the patient can do. And so if they can't drink lots of extra water and they need to do it directly in the mouth in those certain circumstances, then, it should be okay. Leslie, do you have anything to add to that one? Oh, you're muted. Sorry. You're
Yeah,
mute.
we are on the same page. We are on the same page,
Yeah,
Heather.
yeah, yeah.
Nothing to add this for this. Yeah.
Okay. We have just a couple more questions here. Is there any chronic conditions or diseases where one would not use these products? That is a good question. I don't think that there is
I guess,
a
Heather,
lot of, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
please,
I
Lesia.
yeah, I guess if the patient is in acute state with acute symptoms and they're taking pharmaceutical like every couple of hours, then obviously we don't want to interfere. When they're in a remission, this is actually our time to support. So when it's a chronic condition, yes, it's indicated to use drainage, but not when they are in the flare-ups. So, for example, if it's acute cholecystitis, we might not want to stimulate the organ. Obviously, they will be relying on other on prescriptional medications or to be monitored by the doctor. But if they are in a remission, then we can definitely gently and slowly start helping that organ to regain the function. Like with the gout, if they're taking the medications to eliminate uric acid, yes, we can definitely use kidney support because the remedy from the traditional side is not doing that. So we just have to judge case by case, and we will be happy to support you. If you have questions about the patients, we can definitely discuss. Heather or me, I'm taking care of Ontario customers, so feel free to email me or to call me, and we can discuss each case and kind of help you to determine what's appropriate, what's not.
Great. Thank you. There also, if somebody's in kidney failure or liver cirrhosis, there's
Yeah.
certain type things, especially like end stage. Um, if somebody is also with like an acute gallbladder, as Lesia mentioned, gallbladder flare up or gallstones, there's some certain situations in there where you just need to be careful
Cautious.
or not to do it. And then even though we're talking very much about liver, kidney, lymphatic, When we're talking in the next couple of weeks, some of the other remedies, they do have some contraindications as well. And it's very condition specific. Lastly, always in cancer, we have to be very careful with what we're doing. And if it's a lymphatic cancer or blood cancers, there's always the big caution saying you don't necessarily want to be moving things too much, unless you have a lot of experience or working under somebody that has a lot of experience with it. So there is certain ones. The one thing you can definitely do is there are lists of contraindications on the bottles for the ones that are definitely the botanical or the herbal ones. And so that can also be, telling of what to be cautious in using it for. Okay. So we got just so for last from the same practitioner. Thank you for all your questions. When somebody's withdrawing from several pharmaceuticals, experiencing severe withdrawal symptoms, is there any contraindications for the detox kit? Um, I don't think so. You just want to probably go a little bit slower. I wouldn't go 3 times a day. I would just start with once a day and lots of water. In this case, they need to drink lots, and just see how they do. And if they can tolerate that, um, then maybe move it up to twice a day. It's also possible that as they're going through withdrawal, the liver needs lots of support. But you don't want to, even though these remedies don't push too hard, in that kind of case, you don't want to push harder than what the body can handle. You want to make sure the bowels are moving. And then, yeah, using the detox kit to gently support their system will actually help them move through the process with more ease and grace and probably faster as well. Okay, question, Alessia, this is a question for you. Is kidney detox suitable for patients with low GFR around 25% due to type 2 diabetes?
So when the specific conditions, we might need to monitor the kidney function. So as you had mentioned, Heather, uh, drainage is improving circulation to the organ, improving the function of the organ. And also like a Solidago or Baco, they're great remedy for the repair. So yes, with a gentle use, we can still use it, but when we have a cautious, like we have a certain diagnosis, we really need to monitor the urine. So obviously, the feedback from the patient can be valuable, and also you pay attention to the symptoms. Body tells you how it's feel, and if they do urinary test, if they do kidney function test, so if they can share it with you, that will be great. But as the whole kind of principle of the drainage, supporting the organ, regenerating the organ, we just need to be a little bit cautious in terms of the dosage frequency and, not to be forceful. But yes, we can use it.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. And then we've got one last question here from Liliana. Do you recommend first to treat constipation, improving liver detox, and perhaps kidney detox, and then move to detoxing lymphatic system? Or could it be treated all at once? I'm trying to understand if there is a progression in using these remedies, as you mentioned first, second and third level of detoxing in the beginning of the presentation. This is a good question. If constipation is not moving, so it's not constipation, if they're going once a day or once every other day, that's not, then you can kind of do everything. But if it's every third day, fourth day, fifth day, then you have to get the bowels moving consistently before you start to move into everything else. Sorry, but bowels and liver, you can do those simultaneously. And how Lesia presented the constipation, improved bowel movement portion of the protocol. Lesia, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's very important that you eliminate, and the bowel is the one of the way. So yes, when we detoxify liver, it goes through the intestinal tract, not any other way. So yeah, first we have to establish regularity, and then add more, because we don't want to push when the doors are closed. So
Mhm.
open the door first and then start moving stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And and once things get moving, then absolutely you can do liver, kidney, and lymphatic because then all of that will be moving out through either the bowels or through the kidneys and urine.
Yeah, and if they need to add, if you need to add cardus as a fourth remedy, that's okay too. But first, you have to establish regularity of the bowel movement.
Great. We've had some lovely comments. I thank you. Thank you so much. Very informative. Looking forward to the next one. We look forward to everybody joining us next week and the week after. Thank you very much. Both very helpful. So thank you for your kind comments. So there's one more question here. A good presentation. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. From Carolyn. What do you suggest for a person with high bilirubin?
Again, we have to see what is the reason. So, is it obstruction? Is this is the gallstones, or there could be mechanical, could be any others. So, we'll be happy to talk one on one and have a little bit more information because again, we are not providing the symptomatic relief. We are trying to address the root cause, and for that we need a little bit more info. That's why I'm saying I really appreciate this opportunity to say that I'm available for Ontario customers for one-on-one. We can discuss cases, we discuss protocols, we can help you to navigate through our products. You are not limited only to drainage remedy. We have by supplements, we have Sanum remedies. So we'll be happy to help you to create comprehensive protocols and include drainage remedy in it.
Great, yes. So Lesia is working with Ontario practitioners, and I am working with the rest of the country. So for those of you that need support, then we can always connect over the phone or through email or through Zoom. And then Lesia can do the same, and she has the ability to do some in person in a certain geographical area as well. And if there's things I don't know, I'm gonna ask Lesia. And if Lesia knows everything, but if by chance there's something she doesn't know, she'll ask me. And often we communicate on a very regular basis, so we can make sure that we get the right information to you. So, okay. So last question, and actually, okay, this is a good question. JP, is there any alcohol in the formulas? The answer is yes. If so, for patients with liver fibrosis, is that safe?
It is safe because it's all about the dosage. So obviously, if there is a really sensitivity to alcohol, we know some people have this kind of conditions. Then yes, there are on the market alcohol free. But as we all know, we can put alcohol is the carrier, and the way active ingredients are extracted from the botanical in the botanical preparations. So if it's really a sensitivity, we can put in hot water and let alcohol to evaporate. But at the same time, if the alcohol is diluted with the water, it's a minute amount that it will not really worsen the situation. Benefits will over weigh the little amount of alcohol.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And there is some techniques, as Lesia mentioned, you can add it to hot water or let it sit in water overnight and the alcohol evaporates off. So there are techniques to be able to remove the alcohol from each individual dose. Um, and then there's some other things you can always add. We have a really good liver fibrosis and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease protocol. That's not just drainage remedies. It includes those, but it has some other additional things. And sometimes when you're using some of the antioxidants or the tocotrienols, you can add a layer of protection around. So if there's a little bit of alcohol from a remedy, then you can kind of do some prevention and protection at the same time as taking it. So
Yeah, but it's not enough to promote the further damage.
yeah. Exactly. So, and if you would like some support in a protocol, reach out and we'll happily provide it for you. Great. Okay, so thank you very much for attending. It was really enjoyable to spend the evening with all of you.
Excellent. And to echo Heather, I'm available for one-on-one and answer your emails and questions and help you with the treatment protocols.
Great. Okay, until next week, everybody have a lovely evening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll connect again soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye.